Hi, everyone. My name is Zak Pyzik. I am PRLA's Senior Director of Public Affairs.
And I'm Lauren Brinjac, PRLA Senior Director of Legislative Affairs.
And we are your in-house PRLA government affairs team. We wanted to provide owners and operators with an update on the association's 2023 legislative priorities and also what we're seeing and hearing at the start of the new 2023-2024 legislative session. The PRLA Policy Committee met at the end of January at the annual policy retreat to establish the association's 2023 policy priorities. Some of the trends and challenges we continue to hear from owners and operators about: the workforce shortage and the unprecedented labor crisis, rising costs on raw materials and inflation in general, and supply chain issues. PRLA and the committee is looking to help address many of these challenges and in general make it easier to own and operate a business in the hospitality and tourism space here in the Commonwealth. In regards to some of our alcohol service issues, we are fighting for legislation that would increase the discount that liquor licensees receive here in the state from 10% to 15%, which we do believe if we can pass that, get it across the finish line, that will help mitigate costs that you're seeing rise elsewhere in your businesses. Additionally, we are working on legislation that would extend the provisions allowed by Act 81 of 2021. Two of the most important items in that legislation: the temporary outdoor extension of premises and also lifting unnecessary restrictions on off-premise catering permits. From a lodging and tourism perspective, one of our top priorities is increasing statewide tourism funding to the tune of $39 million. Back in 2022, along with so many of our DMO partners, PRLA commissioned a report with Tourism Economics, and that report suggested that $39 million is the amount necessary for Pennsylvania to truly maximize its potential when it comes to tourism marketing. We just recently sent a letter to Governor Shapiro laying out that ask as he considers his priorities for the budget proposal, which is coming up on March 7th. We also sent a supplementary marketing plan with some ideas on that subject. Additionally, from a lodging and tourism perspective, our members have identified as a top priority combating human trafficking. What we hear so much from the hotel and bed and breakfast community is that many of the employers we represent are already mandating training, human trafficking awareness training, to make sure that their staff and their employees are prepared to spot instances of human trafficking and contact authorities when necessary. We want to work with the General Assembly to maximize that training here in Pennsylvania. Additionally, still on a lodging and tourism, in the lodging and tourism category here, advocating for enabling legislation that would allow local jurisdictions to establish tourism improvement districts and protecting and preserving the hotel tax for tourism purposes. Lastly, on lodging and tourism, addressing registration and safety as it relates to alternative accommodations, short-term rentals. We hear time and time again from those in the lodging community that nobody has any problem with competition, but it's important that there's a level playing field. Lastly, two more things I want to discuss as they relate generally to our government affairs priorities: advocating to allow association health plans in Pennsylvania. This would allow small businesses to offer affordable and competitive health benefits to their employees. As we continue to hear from operators about the workforce shortage, the labor crisis, we truly believe that being able to have a tool that where you can offer more benefits will help retain and recruit employees. Lastly, it's important for PRLA to engage with the administration and the General Assembly on business-friendly policy. Governor Shapiro was sworn into office in January. The Republicans have retained the majority in the Senate, and due to some special elections, there's been a shift in the majority in the House. But with that, I wanted to turn it over to Lauren. Lauren, what are you seeing and hearing regarding the new legislative session?
Thanks, Zach. So this week, 3 new members were sworn into the Pennsylvania State House as a result of the February 7th special elections, which officially gives Democrats control of the chamber for the first time in about a decade, albeit by a razor-thin margin of 102 to 101. However, the House still has not yet adopted rules to proceed with regular session. Instead, earlier this week, Speaker Mark Rossi convened the House in a special session to discuss and move legislation regarding the ongoing issue and his priority issue of extending the civil window for victims of childhood sexual abuse. And the two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, spent much of their time during their first day back in session debating the governing rules for that special session. So at this point, much of how the regular legislative session is going to proceed is still to be determined, including the all-important legislative committee assignments. As you heard from Zach, PRLA has a lot on its plate in terms of our legislative agenda. So we are waiting to see how things continue to unfold in the House, and we are certainly going to have many more updates for all of you in the very near future as that happens.
Thanks, Lauren. And if you don't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing to our daily update newsletter. That's an email newsletter that is sent out every weekday, and we've got a lot of government affairs updates included in those emails. Also, of course, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for regular updates. And lastly, if you ever have any questions, concerns, always feel free to reach out to either Lauren or I or anyone on the PRLA team. We're always happy to help however we can. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.